What's going on, guys? Cesar, Manuel, Vanessa here. Coffee and Real Estate, episode number 8. So last week we were talking a little bit about flips, different levels of flips. We had where you just do a quick cosmetic update, and then we have where you go all in and you kind of
Do
almost
major
gut
renovations,
it,
yeah.
major renovations. And today we're actually here with Vanessa, who is currently doing one of the major renovations. So we're going to pick her brain a little bit. And when we're done picking her brain, we'll probably walk through the property, show you what's going on. And we're going to get a lot of questions answered today and take it from there. So,
Yeah. So Vanessa, this is a major renovation. We just walked it right now.
Yes,
So
yeah.
it's a major renovation. And when you're starting a major renovation, what is one of the first things you want to start? Where do you begin in a major renovation?
Definitely with an expert. So my go-to is an engineer, a framing engineer, foundation engineer. I want to make sure those two things are solid. I would say foundation first. So first thing I do is get my foundation checked, have the engineer look at it, tell me what it needs, and then from there I get that fixed, and then the framing for sure, just to make sure it's solid.
Okay, so you get the engineer come out here, they inspect everything, make sure they didn't go everything. Okay, so once you have the engineer, what's the next step?
Okay, so it depends what permits I'm pulling. For a major remodel like this, where I'm moving walls that are load bearing, then yes, we need to create. He'll create plans so that we could pull permits with the city. With the engineer that I work with, he'll create plans before plans, and then I tell him what I want to do with the house, and then he'll create the after plans as well.
okay.
And then we'll use that to submit to the city. There's two options. Depends how in depth the remodel is. If it's something that I need him very involved in, then I'll have him pull the permits for me and I'll pay him that fee. That way he can answer any questions to the city. If it's something that I feel comfortable with dealing with the city, then I'll use his plans and I'll pull the permits myself. But most of the time I'll go with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that saves time because he's the one that's going to know the ins and outs.
Exactly.
So it just depends on how extensive the renovation is, right? The more extensive, hey, let the expert go out there, handle the questions, field all the questions from the inspectors and go from there, right?
Yeah, and it'll save you time, especially with a project like this one that we took. It already had some red tags from previous, not from us, from previous repairs. And then, so it has a history with the city. And I want to make sure that, we work through those and that the city knows that we're here trying to make things right.
And we talked about that a little bit last week where we said sometimes you get a deal blasted out and it's another investor got too busy and they're going to hand it off to someone else because they've done most of the work. And one of the things we said is check your permits on those. Make sure, check your permits.
Check your permits. You can inherit that problem because you're inheriting that problem, right? It runs with the house, stays with the house. Just because it switches owner doesn't mean those red tags go away, right?
Well, so when you do a new set of permits, you're supposed to start over, right? But I've noticed that they know it's been red tag in the past. So for here, I've had to do a lot more details as far as what I'm providing to the city. So so I'm dealing with some of those repercussions, but we just take it step by step. It does take a little longer, but I have good counsel, which is the engineer, and I run it by him. And if we need to change anything in the drawings, then he helps with that as well.
Yeah, I guess to be clear, is there a special kind of engineer you call in when you're doing something like this?
So the guy I use, he specializes in foundation and framing. So most of what I need here is the framing because of the load bearing and because this is special construction. I mean, you guys saw we have a lot of metal beams and a lot of walls that are holding weight. So he's a structural engineer. There you go. He's a structural engineer. So
because there's so many engineers, especially in the city of Houston, and now software engineers.
Right.
So you don't want a software engineer coming in here and telling you what to do.
You're right. He's a structural engineer, but with the engineers though, not all of them are designers though. So they will tell you how to reinforce things, but you have. Give your input as to what you want the house to look like and have a good idea of what you're trying to create. And then you guide them too. Hey, listen, this is what I want to do. You tell me what it will take.
So it's really a partnership because you got to bring in the vision, the design work, and they're the one like, it's going to work or not going to work, right?
Exactly.
So they're the basically the numbers people where it's going to say, hey, that mathematically does not work or structurally doesn't work. And you're like, hey, I want to glam it up, right? I want to bling it out. That's where you come in, right?
Or I have to spend more money, right? Because it could be a wooden beam versus a metal beam, right? And there's a big price difference, and then that's when we talk it out and we see what works for us too as the investor, and if it's worth me putting that type of money into the house.
I think about budgets, design work, and all those things. So a lot of things come into renovations. And we also talked about you don't ever want to skip out. You were talking about how doing the process correctly, going for the permits, going after this. And so it's extremely important that you follow the process and you don't cheat the system, right?
Yeah, and do it in the right order too. That's why I mentioned foundation first, because we've seen it happen where people skip the foundation. They do a beautiful rehab, and then guess what? You try to resell that house, and then now you can't. You have to go back and do some foundation work, and that will mess up a lot of what you already did. Tile, walls, cracks,
windows, and you might have more issues. Okay, I know one thing that I've always gotten question about is the process of not moving too far ahead before you close out a permit or have the final inspection on certain things.
Yes.
How do you determine what order to go in and what not to do before you get that last thing taken care of? Does the engineer tell you and guide you, or you pretty much have to work with the city for that process? Or
with the city? So I have a pretty and just talk it out with the inspector too. So I've had cases where the inspector will partially pass me, and then so I just make sure he gives me a clear understanding of what that partially passing means. So for in this property, he came for a structural inspection, and he partially passed the structural because he wanted me to do a couple little things. But then he said, but you know what? Go ahead and put the insulation in. That way, when I come back, I checked a couple little things I told you to change, and I'll also do your insulation. So it's just open conversation with the inspectors, and I really like the city inspectors. I think they, I'm not an expert, so they guide me and I work with them. It does take longer, and it will drag out your project a little bit longer, but it's worth it. And I think once you sell the property too, once these buyers know that you did things the right way, I think they feel much more comfortable too.
Okay, and so let's talk about tours. So we talked about the major permits and getting all these things done. Now let's talk about towards the end. You mentioned buyers, and of course that's the when it's almost complete, everything else. What advice do you have to give after someone has spent months of renovating the big stuff, right? And they may be tired. The investor may be tired and like, I want to be complete the job. What advice do you have to give at the last? When they're almost into the finish line, almost done, what do they have to watch out for? Or what
not to get desperate, because that last 10%, I feel like that's the hardest part.
The last 10%.
Yes, the last 10% is the hardest part, because that's when you have to get the contractors to come back. And sometimes they're over it, right? They're like, but no, it's like, so you have to have really good relationship with these contractors, or make sure you're holding some money back, right? It's like, no, you're not getting paid out completely until you pass your final inspection. So that I learned too. It's like, hey, let's work out a payment plan where it works for you, it works for me, and I feel protected just in case at the end you don't pass and you have to change something. So just hold something back. So that way they have to come back.
So the last 10%, because they say the devil is in the details, right?
Yeah.
And so as buyers, they get to catch those things where it might be a chipped paint and you see a beautiful house, and then all of a sudden you see chipped tile. Things happen, right? And so you have to come back and address those issues.
Yeah, they may judge the whole project just on those little details too, because they'll be like, look at them. They did, they didn't see that. I wonder what else they didn't do. So it starts playing with their head. And so, I think the details are important. And, and a little bit of staging helps, not hide, but it helps maybe take their eyesight away from little things that may not be a big deal. So even if I don't have a big budget to do big staging, maybe I'll put a couple things in the bathrooms.
So it takes them from the mindset of critiquing to envisioning.
Exactly.
Is what it does.
Yeah. And it happens because when you walk into a vacant home, most people can't envision their furniture or how it's going to be set up, and so they focus on the other details, the smaller details. And in my experience, a lot of the buyers seem to be more expect more from a renovation house than when they do from a resale house. When it's a resale house, they'll they'll say, hey, it's okay, it's got chipped paint, or it's got that stain in the carpet. They're okay with that, but they're not okay with it when it comes to a new renovation. They're like, say it's got to be almost perfect.
Almost perfect. Yeah, I know, I see that too.
It's the psychology of buyers. So you mentioned it, not to get desperate at the end. Yeah. As an investor, you got to finish the project out through, go all the way through, and make sure those fine little details are taken care of.
Yeah, and there's this saying I have: you'll always go over budget. That's just part of it, and I think that's might be part of the desperation at the end, that you see yourself spending more than you thought you were going to spend. And just trust the process, stick to it. Don't forget the little details. And then, and if you can, maybe you add one little fun thing to your project, something that will make it spunky. I know in my last one, I did a little garden where I planted some vegetables. I may do the same thing in this one in the first floor. I don't think I showed it to you guys. It's just something different, right? That way they can remember, oh yeah, you guys remember that house with the vegetable garden. And it takes a little bit more effort, but it adds a little bit of specialness to the house, something they can remember by. Yeah. So I'll try to add one little thing that's different.
Okay. Yeah. And in this one, so we're on the 4th floor of this project. Floor, yes. So we're on the 4th floor. Not many homes in Houston have 4th floor. So when you're talking about adding something, that pops and make memorable, you have so many options, because there's a balcony on every floor on this one, right?
There is, yeah. There is a balcony on every floor. There's not a huge backyard, but there's a lot of outdoor space. Yes.
Outdoor space.
So it feels like a rooftop.
It is.
On every floor, almost, is what it feels like.
Right, yeah. So we're on the 4th floor, and this is a great spot. And we'll show you in a minute. Right now, we're going to give a tour. But this is a great place to put, some patio furniture. You mentioned a fireplace, perhaps an outdoor kitchen. I love cooking outdoors. So it's a really cool space. So why don't we go ahead and just take a look at the rest of the project?
Yeah, and I'm going to pick their brains too, because you have to be open to ideas. I always say that you have to be open to possibility. You can't be stuck on what you like only. You have to hear out you have to take a little bit of everybody's opinion and kind of just see what would be best for your project.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at it.
Let's go pick your brains.
All right, so we're on the 4th floor, and before we go down, I want to show, if you can see the sprinkler system, because this is a 4th floor.
The orange
piping. It's the orange piping right here. We see that right there. Because it is a 4th floor, the city required you to install a sprinkler system.
Yes, an interior sprinkler system.
Okay, so it's something to keep in mind. If you're ever doing a project and you're doing 4th floor, you got to know and got to install a sprinkler system.
Yes, or don't demo out the one that was there. Well, we didn't demo out, but when we got it, the previous people had demoed it out, and then so we had to start from scratch everything. If the old one would have been there, then we would have been grandfathered into a lot of things. It would make things much easier. So
something else you don't normally see if you want to step around. There is an elevator shaft. And that was already here, right?
It was, yeah. Okay. And so I'm not touching any of the original elevator stuff. That way I don't have to bring certain things up to my code. I was able to change the doors and use the same sensors, but
yeah. Cool.
All right. 3rd floor.
Going down the 3rd floor.
Yes.
Walking down is easier.
Yeah. We already walked up. Y'all get to see us walk down. One thing you'll notice as we're walking down is if you look at the walls, there's concrete everywhere, which you don't see all the time. So I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, right, Vanessa? You had to actually drill into the concrete in order to get some of the new updated plumbing and electrical in.
Exactly. Well, this thing right here is foam, and then behind the foam there's a concrete. Yes. So yeah, we had to cut through it, and then the sheetrock will go on this, screwed into these little plastic pieces that are here. So whoever's putting in the sheetrock is gonna have to really measure out how often the plastic. I'm not even sure what they're called, but these plastic things are. That way they could drill into those and they don't drill into the cables or the plumbing or anything.
Okay. And then the third floor, what do we have here?
So the third floor is this is a bedroom, and then we have a bathroom here, full bathroom with a tub, and then this is gonna be the laundry room. For the laundry room, we also installed some drainage because this is the third floor, so we want to make sure that if there's any problems with the washer, or there's gonna be a sink here, that the water has a place to go and it doesn't cause any water damage to the house. So all of this, this is the first step of this, and we're gonna use a product called Curdy. I believe it's Curdy. Yes, it's like this orange waterproofing system that protects everything. So
Okay.
we're using that in all the bathrooms actually, just to make sure we don't have any water problems here later.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And then this is just
This used to be a media room, but we're turning it into another bedroom.
okay.
So we added a closet so that it can count as a bedroom.
Yes.
All
Because
right.
what's the rule?
Yeah, we have to have
The rule is what it has to have a
ventilation, right?
ventilation,
And or which AC, IAC, and a closet.
closet, and a window.
Yes, and it has to be bigger than, is it 8x8? Ooh, or 8x9? I'm not sure. But
I think it's
there's-
8x8. It's not that big.
Yeah.
The requirement's not that big, but it has to be bigger than 8x8.
Yes, yeah. And we
And
did,
one of the balconies.
yeah, we did add some closed foam insulation. Because a lot of this, we have a lot of metal like in the stairs, and we want to make sure they're not sweating. And just keeping everything nice and dry. So yeah, this is the third floor. We also have a balcony here, which is pretty nice. Do you guys want to go down this way?
Yeah, we could go down. We could go down through the balcony.
I know you mentioned that you want to keep everything dry. This is Houston.
Yes.
So humidity is something that we have to be.
Yeah, that's a big problem when you have here, but all the steps are being taken, so all the stairs, the balconies are being waterproof from the outside, and we're using the foam insulation in the inside too. Make sure everything stays dry inside as well. Yeah, this is the master.
So we're entering the master bedroom right now.
Primary bedroom here.
Yeah. So that used to be a bathroom actually, and I'm turning that into an office. So this is gonna be a little office. So the idea is that we'll have, I added some connections here, so we'll just put their desk here, and then maybe some bookshelves and then storage. So
And you can see that you added ventilation as well. So it's not going to.
we did, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's this. I might not fully outfit it as an office. That way I give people an option of having another closet. So I tend to do that sometimes with spaces that could be used as one or the other. I'll just put sheetrock on it, and then I'll ask the buyer, hey, or we'll give them an option. Hey, do you want us, we'll include changing that into a closet or an office.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So giving them options. And then this little thing, the same thing, we're making that into a closet. Here we're gonna have a nice fireplace.
Oh,
And,
very cool.
Yeah, I'm putting up, well, there was a fireplace there. I'm just gonna put a new one. And then we're gonna create a nice wall where people could watch TV. And so this wall is, I'm most likely gonna put something awesome on the wall, maybe some tiles, some natural stone, maybe wallpaper. We'll see what the budget allows.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, it depends when you get there.
Depends what the budget allows once I get there. So that's that last 10% we talked about, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
The finishes, the last.
I was gonna ask you with
Yeah.
finishes, because this is a pretty high end home that it's
Yes.
gonna be. What are some finishes that you say, okay, you can't use that anymore once you cross a certain price point that you're gonna put in here maybe?
So for sure, like for the tubs, I'm using higher end tubs. For the master bathroom, I'll probably put a nice marble in it, or
Okay.
just a nicer tile.
Nicer stone.
Yeah, nicer stone. So I'll splurge a little bit in this bathroom, and then I'll splurge on in the closet. So I'm gonna build out this closet. So this is the master closet. So we'll have two pocket doors here.
Okay.
We'll open this way, and then most likely we're gonna do some custom cabinetry. Actually, no, not most likely. I already planned it. There's gonna be there's gonna be a custom cabinet right there in the middle, and then we're gonna have rods coming out this way, coming out that way. I'm gonna create it so that if it's a couple, they could both share it. And I usually put a lot of some. First thing I do on the sides, we'll put some shoe storage, and that's why I told you that room over there, I'll give an option to do another closet or make it into an office. So,
Okay.
because there's only one huge closet.
Yeah.
So
Gonna,
the lady might not want to share. So
you're gonna be like, hey,
I
do
gotta think
you
about
want
that.
your own closet space?
Yeah, they gotta,
exactly.
Or would you prefer an office?
Exactly. So I have to give them some options. And this bathroom, this is the master bathroom. So there's another way I splurged here. So I'm gonna create here like a little wine area in the
Okay.
master.
Cool.
So we'll put a little sink here with a wine fridge, and then I'll do some shelves. I'll put shelving. That way they can wake up, have their coffee or have a drink, and then
have their mimosas.
yep.
They're
Straight to the office.
their nightcap.
Yeah,
You don't ever have to
They
leave.
can have their nightcap.
okay, so in the higher end houses, I'll think of little special things like that, 'cause, you know. And then the master, this is the person that's gonna pay, so I need to keep them happy.
Yes.
Yeah. So
So this is the coating you were talking about over here, right?
it is. So and then the new thing I'm trying to do, if I could fit a private toilet, I will create a private toilet.
Okay.
Yes. I've gotten a lot of feedback from all the houses I was done with in the higher end with private toilets. People love it. So
Okay.
if I could fit it, I will create it. And that's what I did here. So that's the private toilet. And then here it's what they call it was supposed to be a wet room where we just walk in. But again, the city was not too happy about that. They wanted the whole room to be waterproofed. The reality is that this stuff is very expensive. So they wanted me to waterproof the whole room, put tile up to the ceiling in the whole room, and the budget just wasn't going to allow it. So then we created a separation here. Well, then I had to resubmit new plans to the city. We had to create a separation. Now I'm going to put a glass here, and then we can keep the water in there. So there's going to be a soaking tub.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's
Inside.
going to be a beautiful soaking tub. So I did splurge a little bit on this one. I got a stone thin soaking tub. It's pretty cool. It's downstairs actually, and then here's the shower, and then we're 2 jets go here, hand shower, and then I always think of the girls. We have to shave our legs, so
You get to put
Shaving
that.
corner.
yeah.
Okay.
So this is it. So
Gentlemen, you can use it too if you want to, of course.
Shave your
Yes.
legs too. So yeah, I did splurge a little bit on this bathroom. So
It's the one to splurge in if you're gonna do it.
I think so. Yeah.
And then this other way, is this gonna be a living kind of area?
no,
or
that's another
bedroom?
bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did always have a good realtor and check with your realtor what your competitors have. And then that's what we determined here. So actually this used to have the washer and dryer in it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so and that bathroom was a half bath. And I canceled the closet to make it a full bath, and then I moved the washer and dryer from here. That way I could create this room a closet. And now we could be a 4-bedroom.
4-bedroom.
4-bedroom, 4.5 bathroom.
4.5.
Oh wow. Yeah. That extra half, the private one, right?
Exactly. So my realtor told me, hey, listen, I think it's more, let's find another space for the laundry and try to work in some extra bathrooms and
Yeah, and it really increases the
maximize
value.
the space.
Yeah, and you increase the value. I mean,
Exactly.
the added bedroom and bath is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, especially if you have the space already.
Exactly.
In the other space, you can be using it. And again, people have options. They can turn this into a study or a playroom or anything like that. But they have the option to be number 1 bedroom.
Exactly. And that's what was upstairs. That big room was a media room. And people could still make it into a media room. But now I added a closet so they could store other things in there.
Yeah. And this one even has its own little balcony
It does,
out there.
Yeah. And if you guys go in here, you'll see that system that I told you guys about that will waterproof. Yeah, it's called a Purdy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Mixer. Yeah. So that's the system that I'm having to use to waterproof everything. And it's not cheap, but it's effective. And especially when you have bathrooms on other floors,
It protects the house.
it protects the house from any water leakage. Yes.
I do want to tell everyone watching, don't worry, we're going to come back when it's done in case you can't envision what it looks like
please do.
finished.
We're gonna come back for the
That's
open
the
house.
idea. Yes.
We're gonna have a great open house.
That is the idea. Please come back.
Floor
Then
number
bring
2.
Then bring your buyers.
All right, so now we're going to the ground floor.
Yes.
This is like cribs, but pre-cribs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty crib.
Cribs in the making.
Now, one thing we were talking about last time, Vanessa, is we were saying, you know how like there's cars that are lemons?
Yes.
We were like, is there a name for a house that's a lemon? Like, have you coined any kind of term for a house that you consider a lemon?
No.
A money pit?
Like a
Okay, yeah, I think there's some stuff. There's some houses you'll spend more money on, but I think everything has a solution. And I mean, if you were willing to spend the money to fix it, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess some houses can be too infested with termites. Maybe I'm thinking, what's the
I think-
worst case?
I think what we were talking about is when you buy a home that was renovated, it looks super pretty, and then you realize they spent their money on the cosmetics, but not on the systems.
On the
So then on the
Structural.
on the structural, on the systems. So then in a way, it's a lemon at that point for the end buyer.
That's true.
You know, for you, nothing's a lemon because it's
Yeah.
fixable. But like for someone who might need to get someone back in there,
Yes.
you know, it's like, so then I guess it would be a money pit at that point because you're going to have to redo a lot of that beautiful cosmetic stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's things that could be renovated early on, but they didn't do it.
Because they
Then
want to
the
save up.
They're saving money.
Yeah.
Then the end buyer buys it, and within 6 weeks to 6 months, the AC goes out, or they see that. At the time of inspection, though, it was working, right?
That's true.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of where you
Yeah.
fall in.
Well, I guess that's why I use the city inspector for. He's kind of my reference point, right? Because if something he doesn't think is gonna work in the long term, he'll tell me and he'll call me out on it. And so that's why I say in the big projects like this, even the higher cost projects, I feel like this it protects me as the investor because the buyer knows that I did what I could do to make the house up to code, right? And that I followed each step, so it protects me as well.
Yeah.
So if something goes wrong after, then you know what? That's out of my hands.
Yeah.
So
And as agents, we can definitely know what's going on with going back and researching permits and everything. We protect our clients that way.
Yeah. So in big projects like this, I wouldn't take a chance and not pull permits on this.
Yeah. It's too
It's
important.
risky.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even try that.
So what do we got down here in this floor?
So this is the living room. There'll be a nice fireplace there. This is the dining space. So I'll try to do something fabulous here too on this wall if I have the money. And then here's the kitchen. So we had to create these. I'm not crazy about the fur downs, but I'll probably play it out. Probably put some fake wooden beams, just to kind of bring it together. We had to do that because of the sprinklers.
You had to hide the plumbing.
We had to hide all of that. And it'll be a pretty nice kitchen. So I already have it all drawn out. I usually create 3D drawings of this.
Okay.
That way my contractors don't have any questions. They know what I want. Here, I send them a link. It doesn't even have, I use this program on House, the app, house.com, HOUZZ. They have a 3D
Rendering?
rendering, So I pay a fee per month, but hey, it keeps me from repeating myself over and over. I send the contractors a link. They know where everything goes. They know the measurements, and there's no questions about it. So
Okay.
saves
Cool.
me time too.
And this was, and it looks like you opened it up, right? So
Yes and no. I didn't tear down that wall. When we got it, it was already torn down.
Here.
somebody at some point opened it up because open concept is much more preferable than enclosed spaces. But you can see that a wall might have
Used to be there,
used to
yeah.
be here, and now it flows from kitchen to dining
Mhm.
into the living room much better.
Yes, and I think that's why the previous people got red tagged because the city didn't approve them taking down that wall. But when my engineer came, it was such a simple solution. You want to see it?
Yeah.
It was that metal beam right there.
Just right
So
here.
this right here.
Add a metal beam.
Add a metal beam to support.
Just to add a little bit of support because the house is not very wide, so it didn't need much because there's a rule, right, of how wide it is, how much it could hold. So that was the little detail that it was missing, and then I got partially passed.
There you go.
But that did pass. That part did pass.
Was it that, and then the metal beam I see going across and down, or the other one was already there?
No, that was already there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I say partially passed because, again, there's a couple little pieces of wood that the inspector wanted me to change. But the main thing I was concerned about, he did pass. Yes.
Perfect.
And so mine's
Cool.
a mess. That's getting cleaned up this week. That's the only bad thing. I can't have a dumpster here. So we do have to keep everything in the garage. And then I hire a company that comes. They pick up all the trash. And I do that every couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is expected. This is actually pretty clean compared
Is
to a
it?
lot of
Oh my
sites I've
gosh,
seen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this is not a simple renovation. It's a
Mhm.
very extensive renovation. So yeah, this is expected. And then you said, like you said, you can't put a dumpster on this in this neighborhood. Just doesn't have room.
No, I don't have
So,
any space.
Otherwise,
But but I will not call the inspector like this though, because I want to show a clean place where he could walk and try to keep.
Yeah, because
any
it's still like
yeah.
tripping hazards and.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. So
it's another golden
yeah.
tip right there.
Yes.
Clean up your job sites before the inspector.
Or no,
I don't-
just in general.
Just in
Clean it-
general,
yeah,
true.
yes,
But
yeah.
definitely before the inspector goes out there.
Yeah,
To make
yeah.
sure that it appears. And I think sometimes perception is a lot, right?
Everything is about
means-
perception. Yeah.
So they
Mhm.
perceive it as clean. They perceive that you're,
Mhm.
craftsmanship and all that. So it already begins in the inspector's mind that you're doing good.
Exactly. I usually print out my project in big sheets too. I just go to like any printing site and I print them out big in a nice big booklet. That way when he comes, he can see everything. And yeah, and if he has any questions, I act respectfully and I take in all his feedback and just go from it.
All right.
What percentage would you say you are here, just so people could get an idea of what this looks like? Because someone who doesn't know would think, oh man, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But what would you say percentage wise?
So I'm actually super excited because now I've passed all the hard inspections that I had that I was really worried about. I think the next thing here is testing out that there's no water coming in.
Okay.
And then from there, the sheetrock will go up. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I have to call the inspector one more time. He has to pass what's my insulation. Then I'll put up the sheetrock and the fun part begins.
All right.
Yeah. So from there, cabinets. We'll do no walls. Then we'll do cabinets. We'll do sheetrock, like the mud
Yeah.
sheetrock, lighting. So no, right now is the fun part for me. Like that's where I think the creativity flows. This part is the tedious
Yeah.
of it.
Where you
Yeah.
don't see advancement, even though you are taking huge leaps, but
Oh,
the permits
yes.
are huge. And it just cosmetically, you don't see that advancement
Well,
coming in.
all the rough-ins are done. The rough-ins is, all the wirings have been put through. All the plumbing stuff is ready to it's where it's supposed to be. So now it's, the prettiness.
Cover it up.
Yeah.
I call everything behind the wall the guts.
Yeah.
Everyone says like the bones.
Yeah.
And I had never heard a term for like everything else. So I call it the guts if you're comparing it to a human body,
Yeah, no, and that's the most important part. So now it's just creativity. I know everything else is good and it's working and now I can be creative. And now it's easier too with the city because now all the detail, all the big stuff is done. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So we can't wait to see the end product. We're going to be visiting the product at the end of the project, and we'll probably have an open house party and huge parties. So we stay tuned for that. And if not, thank you, Vanessa, for taking.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the time, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Yes. And we can't wait to see it finished.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, me too. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see. Hopefully by the summer.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode.